All right. Thank you, Hill, for that introduction. Thank you all for having me here today to talk to you about TechShop and give you some information. How many of you have heard of TechShop at all before? Awesome. Well, and a few of you guys I already met. So for those of you who haven't, hopefully I'll give you some information on that. I'm going to talk a little bit about TechShop, what our mission is, some of our success stories. I'll touch lightly on 3D printing because 3D printing is awesome, and we'll have a breakout session that's going to give you guys an opportunity to hear from one of our experts on 3D printing more in detail. I'll get started. So presentation I'm going to talk to you about is TechShop and the maker movement. And the maker movement is something that a lot of people ask about and is kind of where TechShop was born. You hear a lot about people and what's going on with the maker movement. What is a maker? When I first heard oh, you're a maker, I'm like, what is that? Am I somebody sitting in my garage, really dark and just tinkering with things? It's like I didn't really get it. And as I spent more time with makers, I recognized that we're all makers. Everybody makes something, does something. It's just a matter of tapping into that. And the maker movement's really about giving people resources and opportunity to go out and explore those ideas, rather than just the people with means or facilities, manufacturers guiding innovation and creation. Now, with the maker movement, we're giving those tools, that education, that opportunity to anybody. So we're just changing the way that things are going. We're changing the numbers. We're changing the statistics. Instead of 1 in a billion people with that great opportunity in some sort of lab with all these resources and education to push that innovation forward, we're going to give it to anybody who wants to try it. I have an idea. Let me go try it out. That's kind of the idea of what we're doing. It's been a great maker year. This past year has been a lot of things that are going on with the maker movement. The Jobs Act is something that has helped TechShop along, but as well as other small businesses. One of the big things that the Jobs Act is allowing us to do is allowing individuals, smaller companies, smaller businesses that are not public yet to actually go out and get funding. So about 6 to 9 months ago, I'm told by my finance people, my executives, that, hey, if I was looking for funding to start my business as a small business, I am technically illegal for me to go and ask anybody. It's illegal for me to go and advertise, hey, I have this great idea, I have this great business, I'm raising funds to boost my business. It was actually illegal to do that. I don't know if you knew that. But according to the Jobs Act now, we can actually announce that. So TechShop is on a mission now to let people know that we're doing that. MakerBot is become a household name for desktop 3D printing. You can buy a MakerBot online, shows up at your house, and you can try to print with it. I'll talk more about that later. But 3D printing is awesome, and it is accessible to more people now. I'm very proud about what TechShop's been able to do. We've literally taught thousands of people how to 3D print over the past few years. We've been teaching 3D printing in our facilities for over 2 years now. And everything from an 8-year-old kid can come in and learn how to 3D print and make something awesome to whomever. So it's a pretty awesome opportunity for us. Autodesk has really bought into the maker movement, and so they've been a big, huge partner for those in the industry to promote innovation and creativity. They started a partnership with, I don't know if you've heard of Instructables, but Instructables is a website where people who are innovating, creating, just openly share and post things up. This is how I made this is how I made that. It's actually pretty awesome, because these people do it because they want to. It's not a business, they're not charging for it, it's basically posted up free. And you'll see a lot of crazy stuff on there too, don't get me wrong. But sometimes, you've got a problem, that internet machine is pretty helpful sometimes. Etsy is another online resource for makers, basically online marketplace for home, crafty made things. And we've been a big part of that because a lot of people will run their home businesses through TechShop rather than having to invest in $50,000 laser cutter, plus the electricity, plus the facility to house it, plus $100,000 in software. Our members come to TechShop and for $125 a month have a multi-million-dollar manufacturing facility. And Shapeways is an online resource for 3D printing. You have a part, you want it printed, you can order it online and have it done. It's pretty cool. Some of the other things, big in the maker movement is Make Me magazine has become so big. They've actually been spun out as a separate entity now, so it's pretty big on that. Intel has gotten into the open source, open hardware segment with their Galileo and Edison products. So of course their hardware is technically not open source, but they've recognized that Arduino, Raspberry Pi, these open source hardware electrical devices, basically put the power of your own microprocessor in your hand. Years ago, when I used to do vehicle manufacturing as my main focus, we were the first manufacturer to have active suspension technology in our vehicles. And it's actually our patents licensed to Mercedes and a couple other companies. But we developed this back in the 60s and 70s. And at that time, we had a computer about this big in every vehicle to run the active suspension control. And now, that same unit that cost me, I don't even want to say how much it cost me to develop the first one, will cost me about $250 in hardware in an Arduino product today. I can go buy the parts off the shelf and piece them together and take a class and look online and probably pull almost all the code I need to, open source free, and put those pieces together. It's amazing how that's come. And another big thing for makers is the White House actually having their own maker fair. So they're going to have it right on the lawn. It's going to be pretty cool. So the White House is doing it. It must be cool. So what is TechShop? I'm going to show you guys a quick video since you can't actually see a facility here today, just to give you kind of an idea. So here we go.
It is like Christmas every time you walk in the door. Not only are the machines that everybody knows there, but new machines keep coming in.
Looking at tools is awesome. Having access to them is something that gets the kid in me really jazzed to go out and try and build something.
I made a resolution that I wanted to make things with my hands. I hadn't made something that was actually completely made by me since elementary school.
TechShop is an amazing ecosystem. It supports every layer of product design and development. And the social network, it consists of everything from quilters to welders to people using 3D printers. And there's an amazing cross-pollination that happens there that wouldn't happen anywhere else.
This is really a unique spot. Everyone's doing something really different, but it's all to make some kind of big dream come alive, to make a dent in the universe.
Why let your imagination be limited by tools? Whether it's a flowjet water cutter or the lasers, having all these fantastic tools available to scale and test and even make the product. That's really amazing.
When I came in, I didn't have any idea how to actually program the tool that I needed to use, but I was able to learn it in such a quick manner that 30 days later I was producing products. For the Dodo case, we set out to make a product that used modern manufacturing techniques, but also artisanal craft techniques. Having someone there who was ready to teach me how to use a tool was the catalyst that really made a difference.
The friction that people might otherwise experience from having to take an idea and figure out how to get somebody else to make it is gone. I go from idea to creation to something tangible that other people value and buy in very little time. I came into TechShop with this idea of building a business, and it allowed me to build a business kind of straight away. My name is Tina Albin-Lax, and I'm an entrepreneur.
My name's Patrick Buckley, and I'm an artisan.
I'm Andy Philo, and I'm a Silicon Valley inventor.
It's the access to the tools, the expertise, and the speed of gaining knowledge about how to use them that makes TechShop really unique.
It's limited by your imagination, so really when you come to TechShop, make sure you bring a big one because you can do so much here.
Cool. So that's a little bit about TechShop. I'll talk a little bit more. TechShop's mission. Our mission is to drive global innovation by engaging, enabling, and empowering the creative class to build their dreams. It's really amazing what we're able to do. You know, we talk about empowerment and opportunity. Again, it goes to everybody. We're doing STEM programs now. We're teaching kids 8 years and older these advanced manufacturing techniques. We're giving people the opportunity that otherwise would not even, you know, hey, I've got this idea. I don't have $1 million. I don't have several $100,000 to start and try this idea. Well, you don't need it. At TechShop, people walk in the door all the time. Hey, I've got this thing. Awesome, cool. How can we help you do that? And it's not just the opportunity to have the facilities. It is the support you have. We have consultants on staff that help you through. I want to learn how to use a CNC mill. I have no experience whatsoever. We'll put you a 3-hour class workshop. After that, you'll have the basics on how to run a CNC mill. You're not an expert at that point, but you don't need to be, because you can get started on your idea and see where it's going to go. And then you have the support of our staff, and even greater than that, you have our membership. Each location has between 800 to 1,000 active members at that location. And what you see in this space is people have the opportunity to just interact. Hey, what's that you're working on? Have you tried this? Oh, that's really cool. So we basically supercharge innovation and creativity. We give people the opportunity to be around other creative minds, and they're not all from the same industry. They might not even be from an industry. They just might be there fixing something because their wife has been bugging them to fix it for about 6 years, you know, and, and they didn't have the tools to do it. But it's a great networking opportunity. You've got, what I love about TechShop is it creates that neutral space. And I'll talk a little bit later about our different partners, but when you walk into TechShop, you're a TechShop member. Nobody's CEO of this, no one's chief technology officer of this, you know. Nobody is just, hey, I'm here because I have to. It's TechShop members. Share ideas, be creative, see what happens. And I'll give you some examples of some awesome stuff that's happened. So TechShop's been growing. We started in 2006 with our first location. In the past 3 years, we've opened it up additional 7 locations. Next year will be international. And a big part of that is our partners like Autodesk, Intel. Arizona State University sponsored our location in Chandler, Arizona that opened up end of last year. It's actually part of the ASU campus. We're actually empowering the university to be able to go above and beyond what they have and what they can provide for their students. Because the students aren't just in a classroom and they're not just in a lab with other students. They're at TechShop. So the TechShop is open to the regular community. So the engineers from Intel, Autodesk, all of our local partners that are in there working in TechShop at the same time the students are. And again, they're not students and engineers, they're TechShop members. So when you see them in the space, imagine that opportunity when you were in school. If you had access to all of these creative minds and engineers from where you want to work, the place where you would hope to be and hope to expand your knowledge and hope to grow your career, you're actually working with these people already as peers in a space. It's pretty empowering. Ford opened up our location in Detroit. BMW is our partner locally in Silicon Valley. They have one of their major think tanks here, and they're also sponsoring our location, which will open up in Munich, Germany next year. DARPA has funded 3 locations, 2 of which are currently open. One in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and we just opened Washington, D.C., actually on Saturday, so pretty exciting. Lowe's sponsored our location in near Austin, Texas, in Round Rock. GE is one of our major partners. We do a partnership with GE. They sponsored veterans through the Veterans Administration, so we gave out 3,000 free memberships for 1 year, as well as education and classes to 3,000 veterans over the past couple of years, which is a very exciting program for us. And GE also sponsors through GE Garages pop-up tech shops, where we go to cities where there's not an established tech shop, and we actually will open up for a month and allow people to just come in and try their ideas. Come in, I don't know how to make this thing, but I want to make this super awesome, amazing, blah, blah. Let's make it. We've been touted around a couple different places. I don't need to go through all that stuff. So TechShop. TechShop is innovation. We're going to get into some examples. So this is a small company you guys might have heard of, Square. So this little device right here, James McKelvey is one of the partners, was actually prototyped at TechShop. It was not invented at TechShop, and I'm just going to share the story with you as it was told to me. So when they first came up with the Square idea, they came out here to Sand Hill Road, where there's a few dollars, I hear, of investment money. They had their idea, went out in front of a dozen or so investors, said, hey, we got this awesome idea. We're going to make $1 billion. We're going to change the credit card processing banking industry. It's going to be amazing. And they're like, oh, it's a good idea, but no thanks. Well, they had to do something. And what they did was they found TechShop. And what they did at TechShop is pretty awesome. They came in, they took 2 classes at TechShop on injection molding and 1 on CNC. And they proceeded to make their first 5 prototypes, functioning prototypes, that you can see kind of pictured up there on the left. Those are some iterations. In 3 weeks, they made their first 5 working prototypes from scratch for less than $500, including materials. Then they went back to Sand Hill, and you guys know the answer to what happened there. But pretty awesome stuff. Not something that's typically, possible when you have an idea to get it done so quickly and efficiently and without a huge, capital investment. Phil Hughes, his company developed the world's most efficient server cooling system. They developed a system to enter into an international competition held by the government, US government. And of course, they were one of the small guys. They were up against, Siemens, IBM, all the big boys, who probably invested hundreds of millions of dollars in investment. They went into the competition spending a little bit less than $200,000 all in all in less than 9 months of development. Their cooling system went in and not only beat everybody, but it was 20% more efficient than all the competition. For a couple $100,000 invested versus millions upon millions. But what's even bigger than that is, imagine this. This technology now, if put into every server farm around the world, 20% savings on billions and billions of dollars of electricity. It's pretty huge. And because these guys, and they'll tell you, they had this idea, they couldn't get funding, no one would give them money to do it, so they did this on their own dime. It's a lot easier to do on a couple $100,000 than trying to come up with millions and millions. And they did it all in our tech shop in 9 months. Nick Koshnik, their company developed this cool little fuel cell looking thing. Another quick idea, not a lot of money, let's try this idea out. But what their device does, it actually goes in and it'll measure farmland by the square meter and determine how much fertilizer is already in the ground and how much is needed. And they did it very inexpensively and very quickly. But basically, they're going to be able to reduce. It's already an application. This has been out and available for a couple of years now. They received a huge amount of funding once the product was developed. But they can reduce the overspreading of fertilizer by 50 to 60%. Andy Philo, he was in the video. He's a pretty cool, crazy guy. He made a couple of these rocket packs that actually fly people around. Pretty crazy. In addition to that, he owns about, literally I saw his portfolio, he has about 500 patents under his name. He was already an inventor before he came to TechShop, but at TechShop he has been able to explore it much more efficiently, and he has the opportunity, he'll always tell you, is like he loves to just come in the shop. He has an awesome facility at home, but he's alone. Come to TechShop, hang out with cool, interesting people, spread your ideas, innovate. Aaron Cohen, the Tech EdSat. So these satellites were actually made at TechShop San Jose. over a few month period. They launched a bunch of these, gosh, it's been almost over a year and a half now. And they're actually in development. They have, in conjunction with Andy Philo, who you saw on the previous slide, they've been developing full 3D printed chip satellites, where you can have a cartridge basically twice the size of this bottle that will launch 50 satellites into space. So ChipSat, anybody can order one. For $1,200, you can have your very own satellite that goes to space and can send you pictures or tell you how cold it is or whatever you want. Pretty cool stuff. 3D printing. So Type A Machines was born in TechShop San Francisco. They still currently do their R&D there. They just moved their manufacturing outside of TechShop, what we'd call graduating from TechShop. They were top-rated printer in Make magazine for 3D printings. It's a home printing solution. Again, something, hey, I want to make a better 3D printer. They saw the 3D printers are out there. Let's make it happen. You know, the use of our facility saved them because they could use the laser cutters, the 3D design, all the workstations. They didn't have to buy the Autodesk software. You're all business people in manufacturing, so you guys can do the numbers on your own. It's, you're gonna hear a lot about this stuff. Aaron Willis, the origami kayak, Oru. Have anybody heard of the Oru? So Oru is pretty cool. Kayaking, backpacking, I gotta lug this kayak around. He actually came in and he had, it's made of just the plastic sheeting. You'll see like signs like out on the side of the road. People put their garage sale sign. That's basically what it's made out of. He came into TechShop, said, I want to make this. He had some duct tape and he had taped together this kayak. In about 6 months, he came out with the first production deliverable ready unit, and he's one of our very successful graduates as well. So you can order a kayak that basically fits into that small package and unfolds, and away you go. Pretty cool stuff. Dodo case, also in the video. Dodo case is another one of my favorites. So Patrick, and unfortunately he couldn't be here today, we were hoping he'd come out, but Patrick wanted to bring back the leather bookbinding industry because people don't buy these things anymore. What is this thing? But basically wanted to bring it back and figure out a way to do it. And so he invented the Dodo case iPad case. And it's all renewable products. It's a bamboo wood case, leather cover. And again, what he was able to do was come in and use our CNC router. He took a class on how to use it and how to program it. In the first 90 days of development at TechShop, not only learned how to make it, made several, handed them out to members, and said, hey, you got an iPad, would you mind testing this out for me? Handed a bunch out, people are giving him feedback, they're dropping them out of the second-story window in San Francisco, make sure the iPads don't break. He didn't have to buy a single iPad. He didn't have to pay a focus group. Well, in those first 90 days of launching and developing at the same time, had almost $1 million in online orders. In year 2, did 20 million. So not a bad return on investment. Oh, and if you take a look, this is, President Obama bought one too, so he's got one there on his desk. So this is my favorite TechShop story. This is what it's really about. Jane and Naganan, Stanford University students, they were actually at the D School, which you guys are going to visit later. Something that people don't recognize with a lot of these universities, Stanford has an exceptional facility, but most universities don't have a facility like that. But there's several problems with having a facility that's on campus. One, you work at their hours. 2, you have to be a student there to use it. And 3, a lot of times, whatever you make there belongs to the university. So if you're an entrepreneur and you have an idea, well, part of what I make belongs to you now. And that, is something that we've also found in TechShop that kind of stifles a little bit of innovation. Is you see these startups come up all the time. Got this great idea, launch this company, it's going great, people are investing, they go IPO, and then they start getting some money, and it's like, well, I've made my money now, let me lay back, or I'm working so hard to pay someone else, and you kind of lose a little bit of that spark. So that's one of the things, to keep in mind. So what they did was they were at Stanford. Oh yeah, and going back to the last thing, they graduated, so they couldn't use the D school anymore either. They don't let you come back in for some reason unless you have a ton of money. So they decided they were going to come up with this product. So infant mortality is very, very high in third world countries. You've got these countries where large expanses of space, lots of population, but no electricity. When a baby's born prematurely, they can't regulate their own body temperature, and they don't make it. Sorry. So they had this idea, it's like, how do we keep babies warm? So they came up with the blanket. And what they did was they started working on it, came to TechShop, great. Sewing machines, putting stuff together. And as the story was told to me, and there's different variations, this is where the magic happened, is they're working on this, and they happen to meet another member's like, hey, what are you making? We're making this thing, we're gonna save babies. And it's like, well, if you try using this particular material and this different polymer, it'll be a little bit easier to make and it'll probably work better. Well, it turns out their first model could only keep a baby warm for an hour. And with this suggestion by a TechShop member, who happened to be some sort of expert in polymers, coincidentally, now they have a blanket that'll keep a baby warm for 3 to 5 hours. First iteration wasn't long enough. And so now these are available. They're being sent out around the world. Low cost because they were able to develop it on their own. They didn't have to get any sort of corporate backing up front, get validation to say, hey, we have this idea, please give us money. Please let us try our idea. They were able to try it out on their own. And now the result is, it's still able to meet their goal of making something that's inexpensive and accessible. It didn't become commercialized. It didn't go into, big company subsidiaries, and now we're going to make $1 billion on this thing. It's really about saving babies' lives. And the magic of it, like I said, is that this is the kind of stuff that makes me love what TechShop is, because we are an open and free community. When you want to come to TechShop and you want to try out your idea, you don't have to go in front of us and say, hey, I've got this idea, Mr. Investor, please give me the validation and your approval that this idea is good enough to be tried out. You just do it. You go out and make it. And innovation and creativity is just supercharged by that. So inspiring and empowering, what's TechShop doing? So I was going to go into this. We do some team building and innovation events. So that's kind of what we're doing with companies. So we talked about Google, or didn't talk about Google yet, but Google, Facebook, Apple, all these major companies come to us for training, for inspiration, for innovation. Ford's a great example of this. So Ford opened the TechShop in Detroit because, like many companies, they spend millions and millions of dollars on how do I make my people more efficient? How to make them more productive? How do I make them more innovative? And they kind of saw what was going on at TechShop. So 2 years ago, they decided to open up a TechShop in Detroit. What's awesome about the way TechShop worked is they didn't have to pay for the whole thing. They just paid for their memberships and helped us get the shop open. So they have 600 active memberships at TechShop in Detroit, and the rest is open to the general public. And so they let 600 staffers, here's your TechShop membership, go take classes, make awesome things. Well, when they're in Ford, everything they make belongs to Ford. But when they walk into TechShop, whatever they make belongs to them. What do you want to make? What do you want to create? And they can bring it back to work if they want. At the end of the first year, they actually published some numbers, and what they found was there was about a 30+% increase in patent applications from a certain group of Ford staffers. 30+% increase in patent applications, in innovation. It's huge. And it was only the teams at TechShop. And so, I just use that as an example, free the minds of your people. Give them the opportunity to explore and look outside of where they're at. one of the things that we've run into with companies that ask about, well, it's free, it's open, how do I protect my IP? And I'm always like, just don't tell anybody. Nobody needs to know exactly what you're making. You don't have to bring in the whole ship for everybody to see, but you can come in and you can explore, and you can free your mind to go back to work. I've got many members that are in biosciences, in totally unrelated fields, but they come to TechShop to explore that creative vein, to share with other people. So TechShop, again, expanding opportunity. Whether you're young or old, you have a new idea, or you just want to come and spend some time. And part of that is with our locations. So right now, we actually have the first 8 locations. We have 3 in the Bay Area, Mid-Peninsula, San Francisco, and San Jose. So if you guys are around, stop in. The closest one's about 30 minutes from here. Detroit, I mentioned. Austin, Round Rock, that's a partnership with Lowe's. Pittsburgh, that's DARPA. Phoenix, it's actually in Chandler, Phoenix area. Washington, D.C. opened last Saturday. We just announced we're opening up TechShop Los Angeles by the end of this year. Munich, Germany is scheduled for next year. We're also working on these other locations. We announced a partnership with Dublin, Ireland about 3 weeks ago, and Dublin City University to put a tech shop in Dublin. This will be super cool. Work on my accent. Yeah, so that's TechShop.